Don't adjust your screen. Yes, I have readers on for a very important reason. We are going to do our book review for Lori Wilde's Long, Tall Texan. As you can see, I've marked the pages that spoke out to me, spoke volumes to me. I'm going to read to you what the author says it's about on the back. Then I'm going to read the passages that I took from the book that meant something to me. Texas socialite Delaney Cartwright knows she can't go through with her wedding. But she can't simply call the whole thing off. The nuptials to her nice, predictable childhood friend are the social event of the season. Not to mention her mother would freak. To fan the flames of the dying embers, Delaney abducts her fiancé for a night of passion and grabs the wrong guy. A guy with smoldering eyes and an irresistible country boy swagger. Ever since his ex-wife left him on their honeymoon, Detective Nick Vinetti sworn off relationships, and despite the sparks between him and Delaney, there's no way he's getting mixed up with another runaway bride. But when Delaney takes her get out of marrying the wrong guy attempts to the next level, landing herself in danger, Nick finds himself willing to do anything to keep her out of harm's way. Now, I have written down some passages here about this book, and it was an enjoyable adventure, and that's what every book should be. It should take you on an adventure. It should make you want to go, man, I wish I was that heroine. Just saying. So, and I like that name Delaney. I really do. Just saying. Okay, we're going to start on page 24. It's kind of a mix of Baby from Dirty Dancing, Aladdin's Lamp, and Cinderella. She finds this perfect wedding veil, but her mom already bought her an expensive wedding veil, but she doesn't like it. Not like the one she found at the thrift store. And she's out to convince the woman at the thrift store that she needs to sell her this veil. So Claire, who's the lady at the thrift store, nervously moistened her lips. Nothing in of itself. The problem occurs when people wish on the one thing and their hearts really want another, and it's another thing completely. Because you see, when you wish on the veil, you get whatever your soul most deeply hungers for. It's just that some people aren't ready to face what's truly in their hearts and souls. Be careful for what you wish for, because you just might get it, Julian said, who was one of her bridesmaids. We're going to move on to page 122. Now, this is where it gets a little bit personal for me, because one time, a long, long time ago, as he would like to probably think of it now, I gave one of the guys that I dated a hula girl dancer that was solar powered. At the time, I was young. I was 35. And the reason I gave it to him, I wanted him to have something that when he looked at it, it would always remind him of me. And I of course, have never been to Hawaii, A. B. Never hula hooped. But I thought, we had talked about weddings and we had talked about honeymoon, and I thought, he's going to look at this and he's going to always think about the times that we've talked and chatted, and that's why I got him that. Because I'm one of those sentimental people that like to get you something just to remind you of me. And also that, I thought, get him this, and maybe on our honeymoon I would wear what the little hula girl was wearing. I know. But at the time I was doing my costumes, feeling very self-confident versus now. And, I don't know, I just don't have that in me anymore. Anyway, in the story, Nick's mom got him a hula girl. And, he has it on his dash, and Delaney goes to look at it, and he's like, oh, no, don't touch it. And, he says, my mom bought Lulu to be my guardian angel. Whenever I got scared, Mom told me to give Lulu a shake, and she would remind me to shake things up, he explained. Shake things up? Mom said I could sit on the beach, play it safe, and feel sorry for myself, or I could be brave and learn how to shake things up and make my life happen. With Lulu's help, in 3 weeks, I learned not only how to swim, but how to surf. Your mother knew that she wouldn't be around to inspire you herself, and she gave you this doll as a reminder of her indomitable spirit," Delaney said softly. "Yeah, I suppose she did. My mother was sweet on the outside, but tough on the inside, sort of like you." That sounded dangerously close to a compliment, except Nick was dead wrong. Delaney was tough inside at all. That wasn't tough inside at all. She was like a total marshmallow through and through. He took a deep breath. "Mom died just 4 days after we got back home." Delaney's throat clouded with emotion. So you see, I just don't like anybody messing with Lulu," he rushed to say. She couldn't tell he was struggling to be casual. On page 122, or 23, was another page here, where she talks about losing her sister Skylar. "Losing Skylar changed me forever, you know," she swallowed. "While losing your mother made you braver, losing my sister made me more afraid." "You seem to be brave." "I'm not," she ducked her head. "Not at all. You have no idea how scared I am 90% of the time." "What are you scared of?" "Of everything, but mostly of being scared," laughed at herself, "of really not living." "If that's true, where did you find the courage to dress up in your bustier and raincoat and attempt to kidnap your fiancé?" And that's when they first met. I'm telling you, you got to read this book. Okay, we're moving over to page 130. And yes, I'm taking the clips off as I read them. Then it suddenly occurred to him, why would he have to share his feelings with Delaney and not his ex-wife, Amber? For one, Delaney was an empathetic listener, but he suspected that she was secondary if he could talk to her because with Delaney he had nothing to lose. She was engaged to someone else. He didn't see her as a threat to his self-image. With her he could forfeit any macho points for revealing his tender side. Once he realized that, he felt better. Clearly he had to find a way to chase her off, not only because he didn't want her succeeding at selling his grandmother's house, but for his own mental health as well. He had to be subtle about it because his grandma loved her. Hell, the whole family was smitten with her. If he didn't handle it right, he'd come off looking like the bad guy. So we're moving on to the next page. Page 158. Using his sex appeal to chase her off would definitely have its drawbacks. If this was going to work, he would have to keep in mind of his objective and talking to his grandma out of selling the family home, while at the same time keeping his mind of his powerful attraction to Delaney. Strange thing, the forlorn expression of his nephew's face was exactly how he was feeling about Delaney. He wanted her, but he couldn't have her. The situation was broken beyond his ability to fix it. So we're going to move forward here to the next section marked. Okay, so he gives her a gift. She untied the ribbon, lifted the lid. There, nestled in the tissue paper, she saw his hula doll. Stunned, she raised her head and met his gaze. "Oh, Nick, I can't accept this. Your mother gave you Lulu to help you deal with your grief." "It's not Lulu," he said. "I bought you your own hula doll. She's to remind you that when life gets too bland and predictable, you need to shake things up." Delaney looked at the hula doll out of the box and gently thumbed her hips. The doll shook and shimmied. "Shake it up." She looked at the white walls. "Shake it up." And he wanted her to paint the walls in color, where she wanted it to be just a white wall, and then the owners could make it anything they wanted. And yes, she did listen to him and shake it up. Okay. On page 198. She'd been there herself, the pressure to comply with the family wishes, especially if you were the kind of girl who took great care not to hurt people. If it had been for Leo boldly taking matters into his own hands, she would have probably been living in a hovel in Tuscany, waiting for Frank Tagelli to get out of prison. Lucia couldn't just stand by and watch Delaney make a terrible mistake. Her gaze locked with Trudy's. "So what do you have in mind?" "The two are up to conspiring to get the two that are apart back together." And so now There's a conversation between grandma and grandson. You can't fool me, Vincent Vanetti. You're done it before. Done what before? Ran off a perfectly nice young woman because you were getting too close, feeling too much, and couldn't deal with it. Her eyes sparkled angrily, and she reached over to snap a head off a dead bloom on the rose bush beside him. Nick gulped. Yes, she said, I know all about your tactics, probably more than you know yourself. For instance, I probably know at least 50% of the reason responsible happened between you and Amber. Maybe even more than 50%. Now that was a low blow. Nick narrowed his eyes. Amber left me on our honeymoon to run off with another man. Nana sunk her hands on her hips. And why was that? Fear slid down his spine. Nick clenched his jaw and dropped his gaze and picked up a caulking gun. I've got to get this caulking done before it rains. That, Nana crowed, right there. That's why Amber left you. What? Amber left me because I like to caulk? Was his grandmother losing it? Don't play dumb. Maybe I am dumb. Pfft. You ran away from your feelings. That's what you do. I married Amber, didn't I? How could I run away from my feelings if I married her? He growled. And look what happened. You married a woman who you knew would break your heart. You damn well did it on purpose. Subconsciously, of course, but yet still purposefully. His mouth dropped open, and he stared at his grandma, bewildered by her accusation. She was losing it. Think whatever you want to think, he said, knowing how else to respond. He'd never seen his grandmother like this, and didn't know what to make of it. You're terrified, she accused, scared to death that if you really let yourself love a woman who truly deserves your love, that she'll end up dying on you the way Dominique died on your father. Nick studied the window casing, trying to ignore his grandma, who was now systematically snapping the head off of all the dead rose stems and slinging them viciously to the ground. Looked like he missed a spot with a caulk. Stubborn, Nana muttered, and then he heard a crisp snap of another dried rose bloom being broke off. Nick dabbed a white bead of caulk into the spot he overlooked and cocked his head, studied his handiwork. Nice. Arrogant. Snap, snap. Let's see, there were 3 more windows in front. Would he have enough caulk, or would he need to make another run to Lowe's? I swear you're just like your grandfather. He would rather putter around in that garage than express what he was feeling. What are you talking about? He kidnapped you from your wedding. That sounds like he expressed his feelings to me. Nana waved a hand. Grand gestures came easily to him. It was the quiet moments, the moments that count to a woman, where he froze up. I loved your grandfather with every beat of my heart, Nick. But he was so stubborn. He never told me about his heart condition arrogantly. He wanted to shoulder the burden alone. Spare me the worry. She snorted and tears sprang to her eyes. I never knew he was dying. He robbed me of that special conversations we could have had. The extra moments we could have savored, the ones your father and mother got to share. We're going to move on. Honestly, even if she weren't engaged to Evan, she and Nick didn't stand a chance at being a couple. They were simply too different. He was rugged and streetwise. She was pampered and polished. He valued directness and honesty, and she spent her life putting a perfect spin on reality. Gingerly, she reached up to a finger a bridge on her nose, living a lie, pretending to be a beauty when she was not. Face it, she was insecure and he was self-confident. He was bold and she was timid. She could not view Nick as as a way out of her circumstances. He couldn't rescue her. He was just a guy with problems of his own. Like it or not, she was engaged to another man. Okay, we're going to move on. Page 231. Nick was going to miss her more than he ever thought possible. She brought lightness into his life at a time when everything looked dark and dismal. She made him believe in possibilities again, even though she was beyond what he had any right to fantasize about. He fought that feeling, fought it hard. He didn't want to fall in love again, couldn't fall in love again, not with a woman who was marrying another man. Okay, page 246. Okay. Delaney is talking with Evan, who she's known all of her childhood and has always remained friends with. but yet setting the record straight, if you will. Is there something bothering you, Evan? You sound different somehow. No, not at all. Just thinking about how much we've known each other, very much I love you, and I do love you deeply, Delaney. You do know that. Oh, dear God, the guilt was ripping her apart. I know. You're a very special person. Not so special, she said, fresh pins of guilt prickling her. Very special, he disagreed. You believed in me when no one else did. My parents didn't want me to be a doctor, remember? They wanted me to follow my dad into the oil business. You alone encouraged me to follow my dreams. You were the one who told me I'd make the best doctor in the world. You remember that? I remember. I owe my success to you. You don't. You did all the hard work. I was just your cheering section. And I love you for it. You matter to me. You matter in my life. Being with you makes me happy. Oh, Evan, she sighed. There were magic words. He couldn't have said anything more that convinced her that she was doing the right thing in marrying him. So we're moving forward. Page 268. She stood me up a few times. She stood up to me a few times. Nick recalled the arguments they had, the time she flipped him the bird. Which is why you're so good for her. You inspire her to be more. You let her speak her mind, and you don't squelch her. You don't put her in a box or up on a pedestal. You actually like it when she's not perfect. You give her the freedom to be herself. You're exactly what she needs. Did you contact Louis already? Yes. Has money exchanged hands? Had a crime already occurred? I don't know. Delaney was on her way to meet him when I left her. Nick blew out a breath and shoved a hand through his hair. If Trudy had said this was true, Delaney wanted out of the marriage so badly that she hired Trudy's nephew to kidnap her from the wedding. It means she didn't have the courage to tell Evan the truth. Okay. Moving forward to page 338 through 341. In the past, she might have accepted defeat, but no longer. She'd been through too much. She learned how to speak her mind and tell people what she wanted. Sure, she might get rejected, but wasn't it better to get rejected than never to express your opinion, never to get what you really wanted, and always settle for second best because you were afraid to speak up? She picked up the phone and dialed Lucia again, and Delaney had a plan. I wish for you to be able to let go of the past, to let go of me. I was happy to be here for you in your dreams, Delaney. This is Skylar and Delaney now. Skylar is the dead sister to Delaney. Since I couldn't be here in the flesh, but you don't need me anymore. You've confronted your demons, faced off with Mother, and found your true self. You don't need me anymore, and that's a good thing. So we're moving to page. Okay. A week later, Nick was moping in his truck on the beach at the Galveston Island, where he and Delaney almost made love, listening to sad country western songs, going to Delaney's home, seeing how she really lived in the opulence and glamour, and had brought out the fact that he was pipe dreaming if he thought he was ever going to fit in with a woman like that, no matter how down to earth she seemed. He took a pull off of his sofa and tried to tell himself that everything was going to be all right, that he had a good time together with her, and it didn't need to be more than that. But deep down he knew it was a lie. He loved Delaney as he'd never loved another. Finally he understood why Amber had left him for another man. With Fieldstein she'd found the magic that was missing in their relationship, the magic that he thought he'd found with Delaney. But now he wasn't so sure. Would love and magic be enough to bridge the chasm between their upbringings? He feared it would not. Despair consumed him. He reached to start the engine. Accidentally, he hit Lulu, and she danced. Shake it up. I'm going to leave you with some burning questions. Are you ready? Skylar is Delaney's sister, but how did she die? How did the death of Skylar impact Delaney's life? How did her mother be from wealth and bread and always not want her to make a mistake? What was her story? What was her past? Is it told in this book? Nick, his grandma had such faith in love because they had a great love story, his grandpa and grandma. It was more like something you'd see in a Disney movie, if you will. He kidnapped her at the altar, and it was like an everlasting love that they shared. And Trudy's nephew was Louis. He was coming to kidnap Delaney. Did he make it? Did Nick make it? Who did Delaney marry? Well, this book gets a 20, and the only way to get answers to those burning questions, read it yourself. Stay tuned. I'm going to do one song. I don't know if I'm going to work out yet or not. I said no, but I'm on the fence.